So now let me introduce the first of our guest speakers, who is our alumni member, former member, maybe future member, Rudy Caseres, who is a public speaker, writer, and vlogger who shares his story of living with bipolar illness. Rudy has traveled the country to work with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Project Semicolon, and the American Association of Suicidology. His content has been featured on The Mighty, which is a website I can recommend to all of you if you're interested in this topic. This Is My Brave, Wear Your Label, BP Magazine, and Healthy Place. Rudy has proudly lived in San Pedro, California his entire life. Rudy Caseres.
If you want to give me a better deal than the VA, you're more than welcome to. But seriously, before I start, I want to thank Kaiser Permanente for giving me this opportunity, as well as NAMI California for helping set this up. They thought highly enough of me, the fools, to give me this opportunity to be on this stage. So I'm very excited. I get to tell my story in front of this large crowd. So shout out to the people all the way in the back. You too. Okay. Before I start, I just want to ask a question. Is anyone in here sick? Yeah. Okay. I have a mental illness, so I feel your pain. At least that's what they say. Mental illness, bipolar disorder, and it's always something I struggle with because, I don't want to admit that I have mental illness and I'm crazy and people are going to treat me differently. I'm just never going to be treated equally, and that's all I wanted. I always wanted to feel like I belonged, to be part of the group, and to be one of the cool kids, and I've never had that in my entire life. So it wasn't like when I first got diagnosed with bipolar that it was just like, yes, I finally got something to claim to my own and own. And it took me a long time because people would say, like, oh, Rudy, like, you're not your illness, you're not your diagnosis, you got so much more to offer. And that's also something I struggle with because, I mean, all in all, like, I talk about bipolar so much, I do all these speaking, I travel around, I do videos, I write. It's kind of like that's my main thing, is talking about bipolar. And at this point, I wouldn't have it any other way. My background is in theater, and I've done some, like, really low-rent plays. Like, I've done stuff like underneath a Chinese restaurant, like in front of 3 people. So, like, even with conventions, I've done some grimy convention halls, okay? So I'm really thankful. You guys really hooked me up with the Disneyland Hotel. Yeah. So let's start from the beginning in childhood. I got about 20 minutes to break through everything. So when I was a kid, pretty much as I can remember, I've always dealt with low self-esteem and depression and anxiety. The earliest memory I have in my life is when I was 3, and my brothers and sisters were they were playing house, and they were all given their duties and everything. And one of them would be like the dad, mother, and the kid and everything. And like they didn't want to play with me, so they left me out to the side because they didn't trust me to play along. I wasn't good enough to play house. So that's like from day one in my mind, I've always felt separate, like I wasn't good enough for everyone else. And I would get beat up all the time by my brother, just every single day. Imagine coming home from school knowing that you're going to get beat up every single day from like 3 until like 12 probably. And I just always felt such low self-esteem that nobody loved me, no one cared. What do I have going for me? What's the point. This is just from childhood. So a healthy adulthood that does not make. One of the only good things that really helped me get through was doing theater. And that didn't come until much later, until my senior year of high school. So I struggled that entire time, despite being in all the gifted classes. I had a higher than average IQ. And I was a teacher's pet. I always wanted to be on like the honor roll and stuff like that. But then after a while, like towards junior high, I stopped caring. My mother was in and out of prison. I've never known my father at all. He's been in prison pretty much my entire life. And I just had no real role models. Anytime I would try to gravitate towards a father or a mother figure, they would leave me. Because they weren't my real mother or my real father, so why should they stay? And so I just failed classes. I remember ninth grade. I got 4 Fs and 2 Ds. I didn't even graduate on stage in junior high. I graduated from high school with a 1.6 GPA. So, yeah. Like, I had everything going for me. I should have been just valedictorian. I should have been the smartest kid, got all the best grades, and I felt so dumb. I felt like such a failure all throughout school. And I had times where I had to be suspended because I had mental breakdowns during class, and they had to remove me, and I couldn't come back until I had a mental evaluation. And I had to explain that to my family because they already thought I was screwed up enough. And to explain that to them that, oh, I can't go back to school because I'm crazy and I need to go to the crazy doctor to clear me. Otherwise, people are just going to be too freaked out around Rudy. And theater was the one saving grace because I was able to express myself. It was almost like I was given permission to be manic. Like I could be these larger-than-life characters on stage. I can be the bad guy. I can let out all that rage. I can tell all the jokes and not get in trouble in class for disruption. And I was around people who got me, who were just as weird as me, because trust me, I'm pretty weird. And I had such a great time. I got to do plays and musicals, and I can't sing or dance to save my life, okay? But it really helped me. It really helped prepare me for doing stuff like this. I feel so at home on stage, and it's weird because if I'm sitting in a group having breakfast or dinner, I kind of clam up. I don't really know what to say. I'm so socially awkward. I still have really bad social anxiety because I've just never been able to feel comfortable around people because I always feel like the weakest link. I always feel as if I have nothing to offer. But when I get on here, it's like it all comes together and I can just let loose, and it's the one thing that has really helped me cope. And we often talk about NAMI, our different coping skills, and some people, they'll have pottery, they'll have like horseback riding or macrame or synchronized swimming or whatever. I have this. I could do this every single day of my life. And there was a point where I didn't think I can do this at all because I went through a period, I'm going to get to that right after this, where I didn't feel like I could ever do anything in my life. That anything I tried, I was going to fail at it because I wasn't good enough to do anything. Like, I suck at tying my shoes, trust me, okay? Like, I've gotten a little bit better at parallel parking, and that feels like the greatest accomplishment because I know a lot of you suck at that. So, didn't start off that way, though, because when I was doing theater in high school, I went to Santa Monica College, and it felt like a great fit. I was going to be the next Tom Cruise, the next Jim Carrey, all wrapped up in one. Like, I would just have awards after awards, and I could have my own private jet and everything. I would have what they would call giraffe money. And if you don't know what giraffe money is, maybe like the CEO knows about that. It's basically where you have enough money where you know who to actually contact to inquire about obtaining a giraffe. And for me, And for me, that would be the greatest goal in the world. If I had that, I can finally be happy. Like, I didn't have to worry about being the worst person in the world, about being a failure. And I could never get it to work because I would take theater classes. I probably had like 90, 100 units of theater classes, but I could never bring myself to go out to audition out into the quote-unquote real world. So after 3 years of being at community college, I didn't want to be like one of those like 40-year-old guys like still waiting to be discovered, like taking community college classes still. So I decided to join the Army because why not? I couldn't find any other jobs, like even if it's like flipping burgers. And the cool thing about the Army in 2009 is that they'll take anyone. They'll take anyone. Because you had the financial collapse. I was in there as a 21-year-old with people like they were like 35, have lost everything, lost their house, like trying to feed 2 kids on a smaller income than me. And the reason why I came in making more money is that I had all these college units from these theater classes. So imagine how popular I was when I told these guys that I make more money than you because I took acting classes. And so I was like bullied from day one. I was the worst soldier. I can't shoot to save my life. I can't throw a grenade. I almost like blew up my drill sergeant. I can't climb the ropes. I can't even work the radio. And I thought like this is one of those things where I'm going to fail again. I'm going to fail again because I just got way in over my head. And I'm just going to end up like just killing like my whole platoon. And my drill sergeant was kind of cool because you think about drill sergeants and you think a guy yelling, he just hates everyone, wants to torture you. But he was actually a cool guy for the most part. And he really helped console me and made sure I knew that once I got out of basic training that I'd get to go out into the real Army and get to be a lot easier. So I did graduate basic combat training, and that felt like a big success, even though none of my family or friends came because I figured like, oh, like that would suck if I failed, and like they bought their plane tickets, so I didn't tell anyone. And like I was the only person who didn't have family come to graduation. But that was okay. That was okay. I went to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, which we later call, appropriately so, Fort We Gotcha. Because it's in the middle of the desert, and even if you try to escape, there ain't nowhere to go. And I thought, like, oh, this is going to be like Club Med compared to the Army. And it so wasn't. It so wasn't. Like, I ended up, from day one, just having such bad anxiety because it's just trying to learn a million different things. I was in military intelligence. I'm thinking, like, I'm going to do all this James Bond type stuff. I'm going to be jumping out of airplanes. I'm going to be hacking the mainframe. I'd finally get to see the UFOs. And I didn't get any of that. I was working on like computers from like 1992, like working on like PowerPoint 87. So if anyone like is still working on those older computers, like you know my pain, right? So Kaiser, if like the IT chief is in here, it's time for an upgrade. And that anxiety kept building up more and more. There was this one guy, I saw him outside in the eating area, and he was like, man, you hate this place too? It's like, oh man, I hate this place. This was what he was telling me. Like, I hate this place so much that one of these days I'm just going to come in, I'm going to shoot the whole place up. But not me, right? It's like... Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, Caseres, I'm going to shoot up everyone but you. You, Caseres, you're cool. It's like, oh, thank you. And I walked away and hoping to never see him again. And that anxiety kept building more and more because the thing about my job is that I have to give these intelligence reports. So like I'll be in the war room or whatever, talking to the commander, pointing to the board saying like, yes, sir, like this is where the bad guys are in this building and you can go down this road and use these weapons, kick that door down, no one will be in there, you'll be fine. So if I give them bad intelligence reports, which happens more times than we care to admit in the Army, is that they go in there, they kick the door down, they all get shot up, that's on me. That's something I got to live with. And so after week after week after week, I'm trying to see the end of it, and I couldn't. And there's this one day where I just about to crack, and I went straight into the dining facility, sat down, found the first person I saw, and told her, I want to kill myself. I'm going to die tonight. And then I froze up like this. I had a catatonic episode, and I couldn't move or talk. I couldn't hear anything. They ended up taking me off to the emergency room. I ended up eventually in a psych ward in Tucson, and that was pretty much the end of my military career, because I can't do that in the middle of like Kabul and be okay with it. So I got discharged from the Army. I got a medical discharge, honorable, and I eventually got onto VA healthcare because of that. So sorry, Kaiser, but I was on Kaiser at one point, and actually I was going to tell the story that I had the worst therapist at Kaiser, because like she would pick her nose like when we would talk, and she would talk on her personal cell phone when her boyfriend would call, and like I'd be pouring my heart out, and then like she'd give me like religion advice and stuff. So I hope she's not here. But yeah, I've had some great therapists. The best therapist I ever had was actually a PsyD intern at Los Angeles Harbor College, because she was just a few years older than me. She got it. She wasn't trying to change me. She wasn't trying to mold me. She just wanted me to be the best possible version of myself. And I really needed that, because when I got out of the Army, like I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I was just laying around in bed for days, just smelling. That's like I had such bad anxiety, such depression. I had 2 more hospitalizations. Like I've been put in restraints. I've been forcibly catheterized. I've just had a real rough patch. And one of the things that helped me was seeing that therapist at Harbor College, and we started this club called Active Minds. And that really helped me, and I got such passion from it. And somewhere along that line, I got a little bit too much passion, and like people were saying like, oh, Rudy, I'm so concerned, like you seem to be like losing touch with reality, like you're out of control, like I'm worried like you might be a little bit too manic. And I was so offended. I was so offended, because they're trying to say, Rudy, you're sick. You need help. You're wrong. You're a failure. You think you can do this mental health thing. You think you can like do this and that, but you have nothing. You don't have your life together. That was going on in my head. They're trying to tell me that I'm sick, that all this passion I have is an illness, that I'm sick, you're sick. You're sick. And that was a real struggle, because when I had that realization that I gave up fighting wanting to say like, hey, like I'm perfectly fine, like I got all this energy, like I know I'm kind of a jerk at times, but it's like just like I'm quirky, so like get used to it. And having that crash, that depression that lasted just forever. And once again, I felt empty. And this came along, speaking, doing these presentations. I first started with NAMI, then I branched out. Now I'm starting to do more writing and doing videos and trying to do as much as I can, because like I don't even have, the only real job I've ever had was in the Army, and that led to like my breakdown and like why I have 100% disability now. And that was kind of a blessing in disguise, because it's hard, because like I don't want to say that I'm grateful for my hospitalizations, that I'm so happy that I'm like have bipolar, but there are times where it's like, well, like even though bipolar sucks at times, like I wouldn't have all this. I'd be still like doing that play like underneath the Chinese restaurant for and like doing stuff like that, or laying in bed, like not showering for days, and like not having like any friends, because who would like me like at that point? That was in my mind. And what I realized was that I had to love myself first before others can love me. So I can't say, well, like no one should love me, because like look at me. It's like I had to motivate myself to take charge of my life, and to turn a negative into a positive. So here I am, and I'm thankful for the other speakers. You shared your story for the first time. I remember the first time I shared my story, and I was so nervous. I had no clue what I was going to say, or what I was just like. I figured like I was going to fail. I did it. I tried, and that's that's it. I can go back to laying in bed all day and just smelling, and that's just going to be my life forever. That's all I really have to look up. That's all I have really to look forward to. And so from that first presentation, this is my 101st presentation. All right, and I gave my first presentation, I think like fall of 2014, and there's been hospitalizations in the middle of that. There's been manic episodes. There's been all kinds of setbacks. I've moved and like a lot of dramatic changes, but I'm so thankful. And so, I mean, like people like will ask me like, oh, do you still see bipolar as an illness, or do you think you're sick? Like you should treat it like a superpower and all this stuff. And it's like I'm so confused on that. I'm so lost. Like I don't know. I could probably talk about that all day, but the thing about it is that I have bipolar. It sucks sometimes, and other times it gives me this. So, thank you.
Nice job. Nice job. Yep, beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you, Rudy, for sharing that and sharing your journey. For those of you who are interested, there are some pretty extraordinary videos of Rudy on YouTube, essentially performing what being in a manic episode is like, and they're extraordinary, so I would recommend them to you.